Hi, and welcome to Motari Media. I'm Stephanie, your host, and today's episode we have a special guest, Niyi Adeogun. Niyi Adeogun is a dear friend, but he is also a multi creative, an art director, and a visual artist based in Halifax in the Atlantic, Canada. He is driven by a passion to solve problems through captivating visual aesthetics, and one thing is for certain, he is leaving his prints, literally and figuratively, in the sands of time. He's worked with clients such as the Game Awards, Culture Rich World, Black Bloc Association, and music artists like the award winning Toby and Maverick City Music. Nii has held several successful events and pop up shops across Canada, and one thing I have admired about him is his ability to bring people together. Today, he'll be sharing with us his wisdom on how to build a vision with a team of friends. I can't wait for you to watch it. Let's dive in. Ni Adeogun, welcome to Mutari Media, your very first time here. I would say that
Yes,
it's been a long time coming.
it has actually.
When I think of why I started Mutari Media, you always come to mind.
Oh
Because I
wow.
actually started it because of, okay, wait, it's not like you are the point
You don't
is,
you don't want my head to swell too much. It's okay,
I
it's
don't want your
okay.
hair to swell, obviously, right? But the reason why I started Motari Media was obviously because of friends, which we'll be talking a bit about that today. But because of friends that I saw around me that were running businesses successfully, and obviously, like you're one of those people. And when I think of Motari Media, even before anyone else, it's always like my friends that run businesses that come to mind. And I've always had like that huge dream and desire to see them get even bigger and even better. And obviously, like marketing is a huge part of that, right? So that's
Yeah.
why you come to mind. And also, one thing that I've always admired about you, your head can swell here, by the way, is that I feel like you're someone that's always relevant. You always keep up with the times. And for a lack of a better word, I feel like Mia Deogun is a visionary. Would
Wow.
you say that? Would you
Yeah,
say
I would
that
say
about
that.
yourself? I think I have you on a really high pedestal. Like I think you're like very iconic. It sounds like I'm a
Ah,
fan,
ah,
which I really am.
Stephanie.
I actually am a fan, but
Oh wow.
honestly, like when I look at your work, it gives relevance, it gives ahead of its time, and just something that obviously will not go out of style. So today, obviously, we'll be looking at building a vision with friends, but let's start with you telling us a bit about yourself, how long you've been doing this for, and perhaps you can give us a little sprinkle of how you keep things fresh and relevant and stay ahead of your time.
All right. First of all, thank you for that awesome intro. I truly, truly appreciate it. Well, my name is Niyi Adeogun. I'm a interdisciplinary artist, art director, and I like to call myself a creative entrepreneur. I think I would say since like 2019, 2018. It's probably
Yeah.
like, yeah, 2018, 2019 is probably like the timeline from when I like really started getting into graphic design, art directing, and like just being a visual artist. Yeah, but as
And
far as like being an entrepreneur, like 2016,
yeah.
thereabouts. Yeah.
So would you say that's when you like really started taking it seriously, like being a business owner and an entrepreneur?
Oh yeah, like I always saw it as experiments. I still see it as experiments and just the learning, path. I mean, as
Yeah.
I've grown older now, it's like you have responsibilities and stuff, so you have to kind of make it work. Back then, I
True.
was on vibes. I was just like, let's just try this. Let's see how this works. Let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think around like when I had to like sort of fend for myself in a way, like when I had to start like taking care of myself properly,
Mhm.
that's when I was like, okay, I have to take this seriously.
But it was a response to needing cash.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
so I mean, so that's like the entrepreneur side, but would you say that you've always been a creative from like birth? Like, what's your first memory of you thinking, oh, like I'm a creative? Perhaps these words were not being used in the early 2000s.
Like
But
facts.
when did you first realize that you had that creative flair and like love for graphics and design in general?
I don't think I have a specific age, but like I usually stay like 5 to 6. Around age 5 to 6 was probably when I
I
started
don't know
getting
what I was
into.
doing 5 to 6 years ago.
And I guess the checkpoint for me or the memory I have is I remember so my parents raised me and to get support my mom's younger sister also
Yeah.
was part of that process of raising me. So she's a very like creative person. She's into creative stuff. So I think when she would take care of me or when she was taking care of me, like I would see her like make like some interesting artworks like out of broomsticks or out of like stones or beads and stuff. So I was like, oh, that's very intriguing, So she would like show me how to like make stuff from scratch. And yeah, so, and that's why I say age 5 to 6, because like I remember
Yeah.
that time, she was definitely present. So yeah, so I would say I've always been a creative, someone that, likes the idea of bringing something to life, bringing an idea to life, creating something from scratch.
Okay, awesome. I want to dig into that a little bit more, but I don't want to because I know I have other questions to get to. But basically, I'm curious for perhaps a creative that's watching this. Do you feel that creativity is something that is innate? Do you think that this is a skill that you were born with, or is this something like you said, being around your aunts that you took interest in and that sort of shaped you having those skills today?
That's a very good question. To be honest, I think it's a bit of both because like I vividly remember seeing that kind of thing. And yes, one could argue that I was influenced by my auntie. Great. Like,
Mm,
yeah, there's that.
yeah.
But there's also the element of like when I saw that, like I was just very intrigued, like I was interested. There are people that they may have seen that and they're like, no, like it's not really and maybe they give themselves to like sports or something else, or TV, like, but I was just very intrigued by that. So I think it's a bit of both. Yeah, like I know some people don't believe in the idea of like talents, and they say like yeah, everything is a skill. You have to build it, that kind of stuff. So I get that. So I can see both sides. But I think it's a bit of both for me. Yeah,
But I mean, you can't build without the materials. So you can say that
exactly.
the curiosity is something that is innate. Like if you don't have a passion for it, you don't have a
Yeah,
passion for it. So you run a few businesses.
I do.
Let's look here. You have zero resistance,
Mm-hmm.
zero resistance brand. I think those two are different because they evolved from what I
Interesting.
knew as the initial zero resistance.
Uh,
Then you have shop poster and you
mm-hmm.
have CXRE labs, also known as core labs, but it's okay.
Thank you.
I don't think I've seen someone have as many Instagram pages as you. I promise I didn't bring you here to roast you.
Keep it
Guys,
coming.
I think it was sometime like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I would just see a new page by Niyi Adeogun. And I'm like, what is this guy up to again? But I mean, again, it's just that testament to learning and experimenting and
Yeah.
having such a big mind. But also, you've run these businesses with friends, and I guess we're getting into like the main cocoa
Yeah.
of today's topic, right? Do you run all of your businesses with your friends, or do you have people that are on your team that it didn't evolve from a friendship to like being a team member?
I think I work with people that are friends, acquaintances, business partners, and family. So it's like I'm kind of open to working with different people. And so far they share like the same vision, or they share, or they understand what it's about, or simply they just ask like, oh, can I be a part of this? I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, these are the commitments and whatnot. So yes, I do run a bunch of different things, but I think I'm trying my best to, again, like I said earlier, right? It's experimental for me. So, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I think about an idea. I'm like, okay, sure, let's create an Instagram account and like let's just start putting out stuff. You never
Is
know
that
what can
always
happen.
your first step, an Instagram account? Is that like
Instagram
your
account.
market?
No, no. Instagram account comes after I've like thought about it. I've probably like done a rough draft of like a one page business plan, something like
Yeah.
that. So after I've done all of that, I'm like, okay, like I think this makes sense, and I probably talk to people about it. Then I create an Instagram account. Yeah. So for some of those businesses, it's some people that I started working with. So, for example, when I started Zero Resistance, it wasn't. I didn't start it with a friend. I would say we bonded off like ideas for just trying to for businesses or like because it wasn't even Zero Resistance per se. It was like we're just thinking about like other ways to like bring in money or make income or something like that, an
Mm,
extra
yeah.
side hustle. And when I thought of the idea of Zero Resistance, I'm like, okay, cool. Like, let me reach out to this guy. And I reached out to him, and then it was like, yeah, he's down. He's down to invest. He's down to
Oh,
put
the
down.
person was ready to put down
Yeah,
money.
yeah. The person was
Okay.
ready to put down money. Yeah, so he was down to invest, and and never forget, like he after I told him the day of, like, yeah, the day I communicated the idea to him, I think like maybe
Mm,
a few days later, he called me. I was like, oh, like, yo, man, like I really couldn't, I couldn't stop thinking about your idea. I couldn't stop thinking about. So I was like, oh, seems like he's really passionate about this. So
yeah.
yeah, and we got working, and then over time, our friendship,
Blossom
evolved.
from that.
Yeah.
Is this person also a creative or
No, he's more so like tied to the business side of things. Yeah, that's
okay?
his. Yeah. So as me as a creative, I was like, I would like to get a business partner that is into the business side of things because I believe like that's like the best duo you could get.
Yeah.
Someone that is a creative and
So
somebody that's a
yeah. So when you were sharing the vision with him specifically, did you choose him because you knew that he knew the business side of things? And also this was in university, right?
yeah. Like I mean, he was in university for business. I think it was getting towards its final year.
Mm,
Like I think I had ideas, and he always found ways to like either find solutions or like see how we could implement it.
yeah.
So it was like I would bring a massive idea to him, and he'd be like, okay, these are the little steps you need to take to actually get this
Yeah,
done.
done.
And I'm like, oh, I didn't see that. So going off of that energy was really important for me. I was like, okay, this is someone that I want by myself. Because there are moments where, because I remember, and we helped each other, and I guess this is where the friendship comes into play, right? Where there was a time where like I had to give a speech at one of the art shows, and I literally was in the toilet, like I, stage
You were
fright, or
nervous.
I was nervous, I couldn't, yeah. So I was in the bathroom,
Said I was in the
you know.
toilet.
I was in
Do you
the
have like bowel anxiety?
no, so I wasn't. I was just hiding for people. I wasn't like, yeah. So and he had called me, like while I was in the bath, and was like, yo, like, you need to come out and stuff. And he was just,
You
I
just weren't
guess
planning to present or say anything. Like you were just
I
going to hide in the
wasn't.
back.
I wasn't planning. Like she came to me, was like, "You got to give a speech." I'm like, "No, I don't. Like I've already done the best I could. I've spoken to everybody one on one here. I don't have to talk to the whole crowd, because I'm good with one on ones. But like, doing the whole speech wasn't my thing." And he encouraged me and just was like, "Yeah, like we're here. Like we got this." And yeah, and that like motivated me to push to actually do the thing. So once I saw that in him, I was like, "Okay, this is."
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really cool. Like I would like to have someone like this as a partner. Yeah.
No, and he sounds so like encouraging. I would say it's really good to have people like that even on your team in running a business. Especially I would say like at an early age, obviously, you never having dabbled in running a business before, and then all of a sudden you're in this room with important people who
Mm,
are speaking big grammar and speaking
yeah.
coins, and they have in their hands the money that you need to
Yeah.
actually run your business. So I guess that's a really good segue into like how do you identify the right people to bring onto your team,
Mm,
particularly when they're friends. So in this case, obviously he didn't start out as a friend, but
mhm.
just someone that you saw caught and understood the vision and was able to drive it to even be bigger and better. But I know that on your team you also have people who started out as friends, and like you said, they perhaps reach out to want to be a part of what it is you're doing, or you reach out to them. But how do you go about identifying the right people? Because that can make or break your business, to be very honest. And how do you gauge their belief in the vision that you have, or the vision that you had and still have? Yeah.
Yeah. I think how I identify the right people to partner with, I think it's often just based on their values and what they are passionate about, right? Or if they're passionate about the, similar ideas. So I think that's where I start from. Yeah, I start
Yeah.
by identifying that, So for example, with Zero Resistance, it's centered around my Christian faith, and it's also centered around creatives. So for that, I just need to find people that have an understanding of my Christian faith, of the Christian faith, and are passionate about being creatives, that kind of thing. So that was what I was looking for. And the friends that I have are, most of them are either involved in a creative field in some form or shape, or they have like creative outlets. I believe that everybody's a creative. It's just that some people choose to, follow through with it or push it further. So I really just focused on people, because rather than looking for people that I didn't know, or that maybe I had an idea of, I was like, okay, no, let's start with the people that are around me. So the friends that I had, or that I have still, I reached out to them. I was like, oh, yo, or I'll just share the idea. Even before Zero Resistance became a full blown thing, I was actually talking to a bunch of them about it, so they already had an idea, and it gave them time to like just sort of think about it. Yeah, think about it, pray about it, whatever it is that they need to do to see if they want to be involved, right? And,
Yeah.
I had some of them that reached out to me and said, okay, see, I don't think I want to be involved all the way through. I think
Yeah.
I can volunteer on the show days, like the days you're doing, or you need like help. I can help out
Yeah.
there, but I'm not going to be, and I respect that, right? So I just needed
Yeah.
communication. That was really good. So yeah, so I think to answer that question specifically, it starts from the value and the passion. So, I look at what the business is about, and I talk to the people around me that may have similar ideas or similar visions, or,
Yeah.
have similar values. And then, I communicate why I see how I can bring them on board. So, and another part of, I guess, the process is asking a lot of questions too. Like I do ask a lot of open-ended questions to see if they understand what it is that I'm trying to do.
So, I mean, passion is obviously very important, especially if they're volunteers. And I don't want to assume, but majority of the friends who were working with you on your business, especially when you started, they were actually volunteering to do it. They weren't being paid.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're correct.
So,
Yeah.
and I think so. One of the reasons why I wanted to talk about, this topic specifically, it's not even geared towards like developed entrepreneurs. It's especially for, say, first years, second years who are in school and have a business idea and they're trying to get, their friends on board. I admire that you have been and were able to do that, even in uni. But I think about people like myself that sometimes feel, oh my God, am I not asking too much? Or should I ask
Mm,
people to come on board when I know I'm not going to pay them? It's like they're investing their time and their energy in building this vision of mine. And it's like, how do I go about asking? And so if there's like, say someone is watching this now and they're currently dealing with that thing where it's like, oh, I don't want to ask because it seems like such an inconvenience. I also feel like perhaps like back in our days when we're younger, things weren't as tough, right?
mm,
So right now, a lot of people are trying to make money and really make ends meet. So even that support that you kind of get in university, where friends are like, "Oh yeah, I'll build you a website. Oh yeah, we'll come help you set up," that kind of thing.
mm-hmm,
It's very like rare to find. But I guess like my question is, what would you say to a budding entrepreneur who doesn't have the funds yet
mm-hmm,
to, pay their friends to come on board, but also they don't know how to ask them to do it for free? How do you ask people to do stuff for free?
by asking.
When you can change a person's mindset, it can help. So perhaps share like the right morale to have, as
Mm,
opposed to, oh, I'm bringing them on to build my vision and I'm not paying them for that. It's like I'm
yeah,
using them. But perhaps talk about it from a different aspect of, no, you're not actually using them,
yeah.
right? And how you thought about your friends being on board in helping you run your business.
Yeah, like you said, it really starts from, okay, the morale of it, right? In the sense that I think for me, I wasn't thinking about, oh, how am I going to use my friends, to build this thing and then
Help
just
me get
really
rich.
abandon them. Yeah, I never had that mindset. And I think my friends knew that I didn't have that mindset. So when I was asking for stuff, it wasn't like, oh yeah, this needy guy is just going to use us and then what, throw us by the wayside. Like, no, I think because I always try to put myself in their shoes. Like if somebody else, right, for example, within that friend group was to reach out to me and be like, yo, I need you to help me build my, my idea and stuff like that. How would I want to be approached? Like how would I want to, yeah, how would I want to feel towards all of this? So I tried to make sure that I was very open and I was very communicative on what I was trying to do. And also like zero resistance is it's turning it's into like it's a social enterprise now. It
Yeah.
started more of as a not for profit, right? Where hopefully we get some grants or get some money,
Yeah.
personal investments, and then we are able to run some ideas or run some projects. And one thing that I was very open about was the finances of it all. So yeah, I was very open about that. So I tried as much as possible to like, okay, see, this is how much we have. This is how much we're trying to do this. Like none of us here, there's no right now we're not getting paid. And there's some projects that we took on as a
Oh, so
side
like
gig.
you weren't getting paid as
I wasn't getting
well.
paid. Yeah, I
It
was
was
getting
just going
paid.
in business.
It's just all
Yeah.
going back into it. And there were some times where, and yeah, it's interesting because I don't know if maybe the way I started off was the best way to go about things. But like, for example, there were some projects that we had gotten, give an example. So we started a podcast, right? So we started Zero Resistance Podcast. And
Yeah.
this was just like a bunch of us in a room, just record and we'll put it out there. And
Yeah.
then we had a few companies. So after like doing like maybe the first season or something, we had a few companies reach out to us and we're like, yo, we want you to produce our podcast for us. And I was like, okay, like we're not experts in
We are
producing
not experts,
podcasts,
yeah.
but
I
we'll
can
do
help.
it, and they were willing to pay. And then, they paid us for those projects. And I just was like, yeah, okay, whoever is involved in working on producing this podcast, everybody gets a cut, like, so there was
Yes.
still, ways of trying to put money in people's pockets, right? So it wasn't like the entire time everybody worked on it, nobody was paid. Like I think some people, like, there were some projects that we had gotten some funding for from the government. And then, and when we had submitted a proposal to the government, there were some parts of it that I had reached out to some certain people in the group that were going to be like heavily involved in
Yeah.
developing the project. I was like, okay, so this is your cuts, like this is how much you charge for this, so if you get paid by the government, this is how much you're gonna get, that kind of stuff. So I tried to make sure that everybody was sort of taken care of. And we yeah so I think, yeah, like I think they saw through me in the sense that I tried as much as possible to communicate. And because we already had that relationship, that okay, yeah, like Nii is not just going to use us, like, someone
Yeah.
that, I tried to show that I care about each and every one of them, and I care about their well-being. So, in cases where, something is needed or a financial emergency is needed, like try as much as possible to involve everybody so that everybody feels like they're involved and we're not, and they don't feel alone in, and like you said, right, we're university students, so times were tough. We're figuring
Yeah.
out stuff, but we had trust in each other and we had care in each other, and that was what was easier. That made it easier for them to be like, okay, yeah, like for sure, let's run this P. We'll
Yeah.
partner with you. So yeah, so there's that aspect, and there's also the aspect of you asking, like, oh, like, just being upfront.
And I like that. I like that. Basically, these were people that, like you said, they knew you, they knew your character. Like, obviously, if the friend is someone that already tries to take advantage of people, like asking your friends to come on board to your business, they most likely are going to say no because they already know your character. And for the sake of protecting that friendship, they would want to keep business and friendship separate.
Yeah,
And I also like that you said being open with your finances because money is something that destroys all kinds of relationships,
yeah,
right? When there's a lack of transparency, even in a business, when there's a lack of transparency with finances, it then raises questions, and people never feel comfortable asking questions about money. So rather they would assume, and then that ends up destroying the relationship.
yeah,
So there's that. And then you said involving everyone and making decisions as a team. I think that's like so important because then you're carrying everyone along and they
yeah,
feel like they're part of your vision, right? So it's not just like, yes, I'm the visionary, I brought the idea, but it's like we're all building this together. There's a reason
exactly.
why you're on this team as well, and there's something you have to contribute. And it's not like, oh, I just need you for this short period of time, I use you and then I dump you once I go on to bigger things. Like they know that there's a long-term vision and a
Mm-hmm.
long-term plan that you see them as a part of. So if people know you care, then
Yeah.
they will actually care to be a part of what it is you're doing. So It's often said that going into business with your friends and family can be risky, right? A big part of that being finances and money talk. I mean, we've seen marriages get destroyed because of money, we've
Yeah.
seen businesses, families get destroyed because of money. And one thing that's typically advised on is having a contract to make sure that everybody sort of knows what their role is and
Yeah.
what they will be earning in order to actually protect the relationship. Let's take this question from two sides, right? So, thinking about it as a college student and then thinking about it now as a well developed entrepreneur, what's your take on having contracts with friends in running your business and setting clear boundaries in, like, yes, we're friends, but in the business this is like your role and this is what you're to be doing and this is what you get paid.
Yeah, no, I think the idea of contracts is very, very needed for sure. I think initially when I started, I felt like it sounded too serious. It sounded too
Yeah.
serious. It sounded like, you're bringing in a contract,
Even things
that
like registering your business sounded so serious, like.
bruh. So it sounded very serious back then, but again, I think I think I still had the idea of like, so for example, I think with my friends, I didn't have a contract with them. To be frank, I had a verbal agreement. We all had a verbal agreement as a
Does
group
that
to be
apply
like,
in court?
especially because, again, it also depends on the business. So with a volunteer based idea or business, right, I think I
Hmm.
just kept it as like, okay, verbal agreement, we don't have
Yeah.
to bring contracts, we all understand each other. If there are
Yeah.
issues, we can resolve it. But for a case whereby it's not a friend, or we didn't start off as friends, we started off as business partners and then turned into friends. For those kind of people or relationships, there was a contract that was brought up from the jump,
Yeah.
and there was no hard feelings towards it. It was like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
like, we're meeting each other, we're working on this together. Like, I mean, we don't really know each other like that. I think a
Yeah.
contract would definitely
It's
be
warranted.
useful,
Yeah.
right? And I even think in the context of marriage too, it's advisable to have things clear, because the contract is not to you're not trying to be sneaky. You just want to make sure that things are clear, and like
Yeah.
everybody knows what it is that they are doing, and everybody can
Rapid
be held
fire
accountable.
question. So
Yeah.
before you continue, prenup or no prenup?
That's a very well, that's an
Let me not put
interesting
you on the
one.
spot. Just
No.
continue. This question breaks bones.
um Yeah, so I think the option of contracts, I don't think it should be an option. I think you should have it. It's always good. It's good for
Yeah.
you. It's good for the friendship. I like you. It may seem serious, but I think if you can communicate clearly that, see, these are our roles, these are the roles and responsibilities. Because best believe you're working with friends, you're working with volunteers. Not everybody's going to give the certain amount of energy that they said they were going to give.
Yeah.
And it's not on purpose. It's just life happens, things happen. Like, especially when they don't feel like they're not getting paid, for example, for something like it. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, or they don't really buy into the vision like that, or they can't really
Yeah.
see the long term goal. Because there's some businesses that both of you, may enter, you may not be, or a partnership, may enter a partnership and you're not getting paid. Maybe
Mm.
the time you're thinking you probably start getting paid is like 4 years from now, something like
Yeah.
that. So if that person does not understand the vision, or understand, or can actually like just suck it up and wait till like when that time comes, then it would, like, a country, it would be easier for them to just walk away, or not to be as responsible as you would have liked them to be. So I think a contract is always a good idea, or just an agreement of some sort. It doesn't have to be too crazy. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, just something that can state, okay, these are the rules. I'm in charge of the rules. I'm in charge of these rules. Stephanie's in charge of these rules. And that's it. And we
That's
agree
it.
on that. Yeah.
I think that's really good. And I know you mentioned at the beginning that most of your friends were obviously creatives or are obviously creatives as well. And they had the same values as you, which is being believers. You know how in a business you have different departments, like you have finance, you have marketing, you have fulfillment and packaging, which is something you would have
Yeah.
needed, for your clothing business. Did you choose the people that were part of your team based on their ability to do these things. For example, like finances or an accountant. You can't choose a software engineer as an
Yeah.
accountant, for a business that can be risky. And same marketing, right? Like you can't just choose someone random for your business's marketing. Or is it that at that stage it was just everybody sort of trying their hand at perhaps something they haven't necessarily done before? But I see you nodding your head, so I'm guessing that's the case.
Yeah, no, that was the case. For certain roles, like for finances, right, within my friend group, there was somebody that had experience with that. So okay, cool. You just take over that. For marketing though, that one, like
Nobody.
I think I was probably the only one that like had like a, at least a decent amount of experience with like marketing, social media
Yeah.
marketing. But I hate it, so I didn't want to be involved in it. So I was like,
Why?
can somebody
Why
else?
be offended?
Don't be offended.
I feel
No,
you.
but funny enough, I'm actually growing to like it again. Funny enough, it's a very interesting time. But yeah, so I was like, oh, can we just give this to somebody else? Can somebody else take it? Even though because a lot of the roles then was still like they were still being developed, and and like I said, this were my friends, so there was a verbal agreement that okay, this person is in charge of this person is in charge of that, but
Yeah.
it didn't stop anybody from being involved, because somebody could be like, oh yeah, I think I want to be more involved in marketing, and I don't want to do fulfillment, and say, okay, cool, like you can do that, yeah, it's just that you're still in charge of the certain departments that you're in charge of, but it's just that you can contribute to different parts of it. So it's a mix of both, like and there's some roles, and this is now another business where there was a role that somebody had taken within that is a friend as well, and they got better at it, right? They, as they didn't know, they didn't have an idea going into it, or they had some form of idea, but it wasn't like they weren't really confident in it.
Professional.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But over time, they got into it, and they were like, they're doing well at it. So
Yeah.
it's a mix of both.
Say you have to, and I don't know if you've had any experience firing a friend from your business. So say you have a friend that is obviously they're just not doing their role, they're not taking it seriously. Like even if it's volunteer work, if you commit to volunteer work, like you have to be present and do it as though you're paid. So you can share from experience if you have experience of firing a friend, not from being a friend, but from being a part of your business. Or if you don't have any experience, say someone is dealing with that right now, young students in college, and they just don't know how to tell their friend, take a back seat, like you've tried, but
Mm.
you're not giving the level of energy that this vision requires, and I would like to hand over this responsibility to someone else. So how would you advise they go about, Xing or releasing that friend?
First of all, I was even going to say like, oh, I don't think I've ever fired a friend, but then something
You
came to my
have.
mind. Something came to my mind, and plot twist. So the person that,
You've been fired.
no, plot twist.
Okay.
The person that I started zero resistance with, the one that was like, oh yeah, like
Very
passionate about it, didn't sleep on the idea, like it was the person that I had to part ways with.
I'm crying.
Plot
I
twist.
like how you put it, they part ways.
Yeah, we had to part ways. But the parting of ways was probably like a 6 to 8 months parting. You didn't just like, I didn't
Oh,
just wake up one morning and be like, oh yeah, you gotta go.
bye.
Like it
Mm,
took a while, and the reason why it took a while is because, and again, this is someone that I had a contract with. Thankfully, we had a contract. We had set things clear. I kept track though. I kept good amount of information on his investments and time and all that stuff involved into each and every project. So when it was
yeah.
time for the parting of ways, I had to like put all of that in a document, like, and like, so this is why, because it took, yeah, because what had happened was there was lack of communication, because of, like, I guess, issues that he was personal issues and stuff. So there was lack of communication that was present within our partnership. And the
Yeah.
thing with me is that, because again, this is someone that had grown into my friend, right? So I think I expect this to a certain level that, okay, you can tell me what's going on and we can
Yeah.
sort it out, like we can figure it out. You don't have to just cut me off or not communicate at all. Yeah, so when I started noticing lack of communication, I did all within my power. Like when I say all within my power, everybody that I knew that knew him, I'd reach out to every single person to get it, to help me get a hold of him.
Yeah.
And I tried multiple avenues, and yeah, then I got into a point where I was like, okay, after I'd, and this is like maybe like the 6th month or 7th month was when I
Mm.
started like collating all the information. I'm like, okay, this I think it's time for. So I was very gracious. I was like six. I gave him six to eight
Yeah,
months
that's a
to.
long time. Yeah.
Yeah, and funny thing is that like everything was still running smoothly. I just took on the responsibility of
That
like
part.
of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I took on his own responsibilities, and I was very burnt out at the end of that year. But glory to God. So yeah, so it was a very interesting process, but thankfully I was were able to part ways on a good note, and
Amicably? Okay, that's
yeah,
good.
it was a part way on good, but like yeah, I tried as much as possible in that moment to express the love of Christ found in me to
Yeah.
to actually like deal with the issue, because I could
Yeah.
have I could have gone another route, but I decided to approach it with love and and understanding. So I mean, would I say we're still friends? I think it's definitely put a damper on our relationship, but again, I'm always open to restoring, relationships and whatnot. But now the tricky part is that if I was to partner with him again,
Yeah.
that would be very tough. Like it would have to gain
Yeah.
back my trust, like for me to get back to that point. Yeah. So yeah, and another thing that I'll say towards that was, I think in that moment I was not like, wait, is it that I didn't pick like? Isn't that I didn't do a good job at picking, the right person from the jump? So I was dealing with all of that because I'm like, this is
Yeah.
someone that showed that it was very passionate about it. Our values were in line. It's just like, okay,
Yeah.
makes sense. This should work. Like, it checked all the boxes. But again, people make decisions and people can decide to walk away, and it has nothing to do with you. You just kind of have
Yeah.
to pivot.
So I got five things from that, right?
Wow.
So if you're watching this and you have someone on your team that isn't performing as they should, give them grace. Your grace was hyper grace because that's 6 to 8 months. But give them grace, talk to them, right? Have a conversation instead of just cutting them off with, like you said, sometimes they're dealing with things that are personal. You never really know what's going on in people's lives. And especially if they're friends, you both should be able to have that conversation with one another so that it doesn't destroy the relationship. And hopefully, that second step helps them to actually open up and say, okay, this is what's happening and this is why I've not been able to push my weight. Thirdly, this is not going to sound right, but keep record of their wrongs. Even though no record of wrongs from a that's something I also do as well. Not like for my friendship, so I mean like at work,
Mm,
like I take note of certain things that I'm like, this there's something wrong with this, and I'm just like, I
yeah.
have a folder where I listed the things that on judgment day I can say, but this happened, right? But basically keep record,
Yeah.
even though there's a friendship involved, there's also a business involved, and you have a responsibility to your business, right? So you have to keep record of those things so that when and if time comes for that difficult conversation to happen, you have a list of the things that they have done to refer back to, especially if you're giving grace for such a long time. You need to be able to remember so that they don't gaslight you and say, okay, now listen, tell me what I did, and you can't even remember and you're out
Yeah.
there, looking like a fool. Fourth thing, obviously don't blame yourself. Like we said, sometimes things are just going on with people. If the relationship ends up becoming a little less than what it used to be before, don't think of it as your fault. And lastly, don't sabotage your business, for your friendship. And what I mean by that is, so because of friendship sentiments, you keep this person on your team that obviously whatever track they were taking initially to helping you grow your business, now they're causing issues,
Mm-hmm.
for your business. Like there's a personal relationship, but in business is not personal anymore. And it's like if they're doing things that will basically destroy your business, destroy your reputation, then at that point in time, after going through these other things, it's time to confidently thank them for their
For their
their
services.
their their support so far and send them home, right? So to wrap us up, I have two questions, and these are like more short answer questions. But obviously, as an established entrepreneur with lots of experience,
Wow.
what advice would you give to immigrant entrepreneurs, especially students,
Hmm.
about obviously all we've talked about today, is that, but if we're just to sum it up, or what's like encouragement would you give to, students trying to, run a business in university and also assemble a supportive and effective team of friends that get their vision?
My advice would be to be intentional about building relationships within your community. So whether it's school or events or social spaces, I think it's important to network. If I wasn't like that, that would be the advice I would have given myself in 2016, 2017. Just networking and putting yourself out there. You never know who you can partner with. You never know the resources that somebody may have, maybe 5 years down the line, or even, having that moment. So I think in building relationships within your community and be intentional about it, so you're not trying to you're not approaching it with like the mindset of like, oh, I'm building a relationship with this person so I can get something. Like, I think people want
Yeah.
to see that you're interested in them, so be interested, be intentional. Yeah, on that note too, find people that find individuals that are aligned with
Yeah.
with your values and with your passion, or at least are passionate about something. It doesn't have to be what you're passionate about. I think just being around that energy is very like it's very good, right? It's very good for your mental health as an entrepreneur, because I think that's something that I'm currently passionate about right now, building a community of creative entrepreneurs that can benefit off of each other, and can support each other. And then I think the last two things I'll probably say towards that is start small. Like, yeah, it's not gonna blow overnight. I mean, you have people that blow overnight, but not saying that it can't be you,
With
but
TikTok, it just might,
yeah,
but yeah.
but start small. You can start with your friends, start with volunteers, start with people around you, and just be conscious of those around you, and see how you can work with the people that you may have, support system that you may have to build something that you want to build. So, and the same way you want people to be involved in your stuff, be involved in other people's stuff that way as well. And another thing that comes to my mind is, like I said, we just keep saying, stay stay adaptable. And this is based off the last thing I said, like, stay adaptable, because people can change their minds, they can change their decisions, they can, so stay adaptable, and no hard feelings.
Okay, and then lastly, what would you say to friends who are a part of their friends' businesses, right? So they're volunteering, to help this entrepreneur, build a vision. What's
Hmm.
something you would like them to know in terms of like being committed and being supportive and communicating? And I feel like I'm already saying the thing, so what would you want to say to them?
Oh, I think treat it like it's your own. I'd say, treat it like it's
Alright.
your own, and from there, because what I was going to say initially was take initiatives, because yeah, and don't be afraid to share your ideas with whoever it is that is leading the group, right? I'm pretty sure. I mean, I know people have different personalities and different ways they want to run their businesses, but I think you showing that you're thinking about an idea, you're thinking about something, it's encouraging. It makes whoever it is that has that brought that vision to you, makes them feel like they're not alone, and they're like, they have a support system, or they have, yeah. So try as much as possible to see it as your own, and hopefully when you to start your own thing, or when you're involving other people in your own stuff as well, like those people can also, they can also replicate that same energy. So yeah.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast and for sharing
Anytime.
your knowledge and your experience. Before I let you go, tell us about your many, many different companies and what's coming up. What's
What's
coming up
coming up?
with you? Do you have anything in the works? Also, your social media pages, which obviously I'll put in the YouTube, description as
Yeah.
well. But anything coming up that we should be looking forward to? What's cooking?
Okay, so with zero resistance, I think my goal for next couple of months slash next year is to build an active local creative community for creative entrepreneurs and
So
artists. So
when you say local, that's Atlantic Canada or Halifax?
Yes, Halifax and Atlantic Canada. Yeah, you could say that because the goal would be to build a system whereby creative entrepreneurs in different provinces can depend off of each other, and they have resources that are available to help their businesses grow. As an artist, because I've seen the side of an artist where it's like they don't, most artists don't want to be involved in the business side of things, right? That's
Yeah.
just what it is. So, and as an artist in this day and age, you have to be involved in it. You have to wear all the hats. You have to be a marketer, you have to be a business manager, you have to be an accountant, you have to do everything. So I want to create a space, a working space that can encourage and impact people to, or encourage and equip people to create and work on the ideas, but also equip them in the sense that they can help, we can provide resources that can help them thrive in the business area of things. Yeah, so that's what I'm working on. And then with,
Something that they can sign up on your website, or how are they able to be a part of that community?
yeah, that would be put out by next month. So there would be a
Shout out, shout out.
resource. There will be a link on the website, or there'll be a page on the website that talks more about this, and we'll probably start like our working sessions next month. Yeah, so
Have
that's
you
the
announced it anywhere else before?
no, not yet. Still
Exclusive! You heard it here first. Come on
still
now.
working on partnerships and whatnot. So yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, so that's what I'm passionate about right now. With Shop Poster, yeah, I'm trying to ensure that I build a working system that, because the idea behind Shop Poster is to help artists. If you notice, a lot of businesses I have is artist centered in a way, or art centered.
Yeah.
So I want to create a marketplace for artists to make an income off their work, right? So it's an marketplace where you can find new artists and you can help support their work and stuff like that. So that's the idea behind Poster. So right now I'm just doing some back end work to ensure that systems are set up well so that that can thrive. And last thing I'm working on right now is collabs. I feel like collabs is actually the longest. It became collabs in 2023, but it was something else, in
Yeah.
2017, 2016. Yeah, and that's this art and design studio that I work with different clients, brands to help create brand identities, visual identities. And there's this new thing that I've been experimenting with, which is experience design. So that's augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality. So we help build experiences for brands and companies.
Niyi Adeogun, ladies and
Mm.
gentlemen.
Stephanie,
Thank you so much. I'll put all of your contact information in the YouTube description, but I'm so happy to have you here. Thank
thank you.
you.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed this conversation.